In this video, I want to talk about something that is often overlooked when people are coming here to Africa to start a business. This is something that most people rarely talk about, but this thing right here is way more important than about 95% of the things that you'll do. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were running a business in Europe, US, and you try and bring that strategy here, you'll be able to accomplish most of the things, but if you ignore this one thing, you're going to be in big trouble. This is relationships. The quality of your business, the quality of your life, the success of your life and your business here in Africa is purely determined on the quality of your relationships with other human beings. Africa is not like the West. Africa is not like China. People here value human relationships so much, so much. So much so that if you have bad relationships with other human beings, you'll continue to struggle. You'll struggle with everything. You won't get the best of everything. Let me tell you what happened to us here in Tanzania. Me and my family live here. I live here part-time. I'm back and forth. And we just had a political situation happen here in Tanzania. I don't talk politics. But because of that situation, we had a lockdown. It was as if COVID was back again. During the lockdown, we didn't have internet. We didn't have internet. And then also, we couldn't move around. So you couldn't just say, all right, I want to go to the city, I want to go to the dentist or whatever, I want to go to the doctors. Movement was restricted because people were rioting in the streets. So the military and the police had to get involved to block the roads, to make sure there was law and order, like any government does. However you feel about it, it is what it is. Because of that lockdown, we started to experience shortages with food items, all kinds of things. You needed, let's say, some eggs. You need bread. It ran out because the suppliers come from a different part of the city. They couldn't come to this side, so the roads were blocked. So the place that we usually buy bread and eggs from, the grocery store, we couldn't go there. And they were closed anyway. So even if we could go there, they were closed. They didn't want their grocery store to be looted. So we had to figure it out. We had to be like, damn, we need eggs, we need bread, we need all kinds of things to survive, to eat. Because if we didn't, we got 2 kids, those kids are gonna starve and cause problems over here. Plus me, I was gonna starve. I actually lost a little bit of weight during that time. That's how bad things were. But I'm here, I'm surviving. We thank God. So, because we had built really good relationships with the people that work for us, our domestic workers, we have a gardener and we have 2 domestic workers who are ladies. Because we built good relationships with them and also other people in the neighborhood that were not at our level. What I mean by at our level is exposure-wise. There are a lot of people here in Africa that have never traveled. They don't have passports. So the only exposure that they have to the outside world is through social media, TV, or interactions with people like us who've lived in different parts of the world and come here to Africa and tell them stories about how it's really going down over there, where we're coming from. Because of these relationships, we're able to exchange, information, knowledge over time. So think about it. This is 2 years of investing into building these relationships. Because we couldn't go to the grocery store, we later on learned that we could get eggs from one of our neighbors. I didn't know that. And that neighbor charges half of what the grocery store charges. Because she has her own chicken, you know, she has her own eggs. She runs an egg business. And she supplies the whole neighborhood. And the people that she supplies to are people that are the working class, the people that don't have a whole lot of money. Those are the people that are her main customers. Most of her customers are those people. So the guys that do construction in this neighborhood, because there's a bunch of construction going on in this neighborhood, all the builders and all the guys that drive taxis, cabs, tuk-tuks, Uber drivers, Bolt, working class guys. They all go shop from her for the eggs. And this is something I didn't know. My wife didn't know this. Because she had built these good, genuine relationships with these people that work for us, she was able to get valuable information about where to get eggs from our neighbor before they ran out. And that's how we were able to survive for a couple of days. Off of eggs and bread. We had a plug for bread. Again, bread was like half the price. Of course, the quality of the bread was not as at the same level as we're used to from the grocery store, the fancy one that we used to go to. But still, it's food. There were days we went bread and eggs every day, and we survived because we built good relationships with people around us. It didn't matter what class you were at. When hard times hit, no one cares how much money you got in the bank. No one cares. And unfortunately, this is what the Americans are going to find out very soon. That it doesn't matter how much money you got in your bank account, right? If you cannot get access to food, no one cares how much money you have. You know what I'm saying? Everything's going to come down to resources. So I was the same thing. You literally have money, but you couldn't spend it. You couldn't have money on your mobile money, M-Pesa, but you couldn't spend it on anything because there was no food to buy. But because we had such good relationships with people that work for us, even those people that work for us also had a network. This is how I discovered, like, the working class has its own network. So some of us who've lived in the US, abroad, anything we need, we rely on Google, right? This is some of you guys. When you come to Africa, you'll be like, oh, let me rely on Google. No, you grave mistake. Build genuine relationships with people, and you'll get access to the information that's not online. It's not online. The lady that sells eggs now, and we buy eggs from her every day now, because she hooked us up when we were down during the lockdown. She's not on Google. You can find her on ChatGPT. But I'm going to get eggs from her for half the price. She has a loyal customer from us now. All because of genuine relationships that we're able to build. What I'm saying is that this working class has a network. There were days where we couldn't get online. So the only way that we knew what was going down outside of this house, was through phone calls. And literally what we had to do was every day we'll come together in the kitchen and we start cooking. Because I couldn't get online, so I couldn't work. So I had to hang out with the family. We'll tell stories. Wi-Fi was not available. Internet wasn't working. So the only way to spend time was to communicate, to tell stories, to exchange stories, to talk. We were forced to talk. And it turns out the only way that we could get information about what's going on outside of this house was through our workers calling their friends that were living in other neighborhoods. They would peek out of the window to see what was going on out the window and relay that information back to them. And that information came back to us. It was very old school. For a time, it felt like we're back in the 1980s. It made me realize something. A lot of people that are coming into Africa, they're not going to be able to survive because they don't know how to build relationships with people. That means the quality of the business is going to suffer. How are you going to outcompete someone like me? Right? Let's say somebody like you wants to come in to this market. Let me just use this market as an example. And you want to start a chicken business to sell eggs. Brand new, right? You've never done business here. But you want to come here and start a poultry business. By the way, I've done a video about that. If you want to start a poultry business here in Africa, I've done a video about that already. Go watch it. Let's say you want to come start a poultry business here. You want to know how to raise these chickens. You want to know how to start selling these eggs. How are you going to be able to do that and compete with somebody like me or that lady that's selling me eggs? You can't compete. Because that lady who's selling eggs, she's selling it out of her own home. And she's been doing it for years. That's the plug right there. So you might come into this market selling your eggs for, let's say, $1. But she can sell her eggs for 50 cents. How are you going to compete with that? How you compete is by building genuine relationships with people so you know what is what and who is who. So, maybe an angle you might want to consider if you were to do a poultry business here, let's say in this neighborhood, in Tanzania. You might want to come into this market, start building these relationships, and then when you come across somebody like her, who's already selling eggs, you buy from her wholesale. Then you become the front end, the sales. You focus on the sales and the value adding. Maybe you come up with your own packaging that's adding value. You come up with your online branding that's value adding. So she might sell you a bunch of eggs for 50 cents. And then you add value to that. You sell those eggs for 75 to a new market. Then you are still competitive because the grocery store that I used to buy from, I used to buy them for $1. So if I find you, I'm still going to buy from you for 75 because I don't know this lady that sells them for 50 cents. If I was a customer, if I was your customer. What I'm saying is like Africa is one of the best places to do business because there's so many people here that know how to produce things for a really good and affordable price. But when it comes to adding value, they're not really good at it. If you know how to come into this market, build these relationships that I'm talking about, get these people to trust you, they're going to hook you up. Then you add value. This is what the Europeans have been doing for a long time. This is what the Americans have been doing for a long time. Coming to Africa, extracting raw materials, taking them over there to Europe, producing chocolate, producing coffee, and selling it at a premium over there in Europe and US. You can come and do the same thing now, especially if you're African. You can come back home. If you're Tanzanian, if you're Kenyan, you can come back home, extract these resources, focus on packaging and branding, and sell it to the Chinese. The Chinese already said they'll accept your goods duty-free. There's a billion plus people over there in China. There's a billion plus people over there in India. The Indians and the Chinese would take your goods if you're good enough. If you've been exposed to the European markets, the American markets, and you know those standards, you bring those standards here to Africa, you're going to make some money. It's not a question of if you'll make money. It's a question of how much you're going to make. Guys, Africa is not the future. Africa is the present. Africa is the present. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. If you're ready to start playing this game to win and build generational wealth, because something as simple as selling eggs, you can literally expand that into an empire very easily. And it can become a generational wealth building business. If you're ready to do something like that, in any niche of your choice, then schedule time. This will be a paid consultation. This means that you get to talk to an expert who is here in Africa. I know exactly what's going on here. I get access to information that you don't have. It's not a ChatGPT. It's not a Google. You're going to be coming over here, stumbling, wasting your time. When you could cut the BS. If you're ready to cut the BS, get straight to the point, schedule time. Paid consultation only. There's too much free game that I'm putting out on YouTube here. But if you want the real game that is custom to your situation, let's talk. Serious people only. Blessed.